Friends, Sacred Frames, Sean Palmer, Jeff Cook, and the movie Mike Yeager. We're talking about whether nicknames stick and the Fantastic Four First Steps. A story about whether one should sacrifice an all-powerful space god to save the world. Where have you heard that story before? Great setup.
Yeah, fabulous setup, which as much time as I've spent thinking about this movie, never occurred to me until you just said it.
I think that's about as far as they got down the Christian allegory road, was kind of a brief mention, and maybe we'll do something else.
It's probably about as much time as they spent on the script as well.
They're trying to cover a lot of ground, and they're generally getting to it at about an inch deep. So I'm sure we'll get into it.
I think we're all on the same page here, which makes us different than the entire internet, apparently.
Seems that way.
So before we get into this movie, and of course, this podcast is going to look at the meaning, the overlap with ethics, spirituality, politics. Is there anything worth saying about your experience of the Fantastic Four as characters?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. I'm not going to be the first person that's ever said this. Like the best Fantastic Four movie is called The Incredibles. So like that's not an original idea. The thing that I was so excited about this movie, probably the movie other than Mission Impossible this summer that I was most excited about. Not my favorite movie of the summer. I knew it wasn't going to be my favorite movie of the summer. You know, the previous versions, the last version with Michael B. Jordan, that movie was awful. I mean, just patently awful. And I thought this is an opportunity to really reboot the whole franchise, bring some meaning. I love the futuristic mid-century modern of the look, the set design. So I was really looking forward to it. And if I want to say anything about it, like my overarching review of this film is that when I first saw it with my family, I fell asleep for over an hour just out, and they did not feel in any way compelled to wake me up.
No, Shalabal is surfing lava, and Sean is just sawing logs. Exactly. So yeah, I've had some in terms of like this film. I've never really had much of a connection to the Fantastic Four as a superhero faction, and maybe that's just because the previous adaptations were so poorly received on pretty much every level, and it's been a long time since we've had even approaching a competent version of this story. But I think I grew up, we thought like the X-Men were cool, Spider-Man cool, Batman cool. Fantastic Four was never really like the cool group as a superhero, just I guess in my own experience. But I too appreciate the kind of retro futurism. The vibe of it is being distinct from the rest of the MCU. So there's some positives there, but it wasn't something that I was really like in the tank for, aside from just the optimism I continue trying to hold for the MCU, but rarely seems to pan out these days. But this was among those that seemed to have some potential, leading into what they're heading into more broadly with Secret Wars and all of it.
And this is like where, Mike, you and I really go different ways in terms of approaching the Fantastic Four, because I am like spiritually, emotionally, psychically so about community and togetherness, and this idea of people who cannot do it alone, even if you are the thing, right? You are a rock, like you are the smartest man in the universe, but you can't address your challenges alone. Like it's probably why I just adored Thunderbolts, and like it's like I will watch Thunderbolts every day of the year if I could, besides the fact that we're gonna solve everything with a hug. But there is something about that for me, and I think that's why I was looking forward to it so much, was the basic elements of the Fantastic Four story is about people coming together to solve big problems, and because it's a family, to do it out of a sense of love for one another and love for the world, which is why the previous Fantastic Four or Fant-Four-tastic, whatever it was called, didn't work, because you never believed that those people really loved each other. And so that was my mindset headed into the movie, of which the first time I went to see it, stone cold asleep. Best nap I've had in years.
It's those recliners, so sometimes they're even heated. Can't help it.
What was your take, Jeff?
I'm going to agree with you all. The Incredibles, in my view, sets the bar so high. I have The Incredibles as a top superhero film ever. And in my view, like Fantastic Four style stories, the idea not just of family, but of like actual family in which you have to love the other person. It's not just found family, but you got to deal with your cousin's dysfunction and the interdependence that blood entails. And yet you still love the hell out of these people. And all of them go through irreversible changes at the same time together. And the struggle of now we're different and yet in a human world, all of those I think are really worth telling. You see it some in X-Men, but there's a different kind of focus, I think, for these sorts of stories. And I was really excited, as you were, for the potential here. And I think The Incredibles just sets the bar too high. It may be... Yeah. It just might be too high to hit, but
maybe so. I mean, but those dynamics of like, here's Reed and Johnny, and like, oh gosh, this is my brother-in-law, you know, and and that the mix of what happens in a family, like extended family in particular, is like, I have to deal with you, and I so appreciate your gifts, but the pieces of you that annoy me really deeply annoy me. but we can't just walk out on each other. And I love those kinds of elements.
Am I wrong in thinking that in the MCU, the only other comparison I can think of is Black Panther, in terms of you need to love your extended family no matter what, at a different kind of level, and bringing in those elements. Does anybody else?
It does have that tribal familial component. Absolutely.
I suppose Thor and Loki have that also, but I didn't.
I was going to say in Black Panther, in the movie, that throne room scene when Killmonger first shows up and T'Challa says like, yeah, like I would kill you where you stand if I didn't know who you are. Like, I know that you're my cousin. And because of that, we cannot just dismiss one another as simply as I might with someone else who came in here saying the things that you're saying. So, but we may be ahead of ourselves in giving our review of the movie.
No, stories about blood are powerful, and you can build powerful stories upon them. And unfortunately, I went, my view going into this whole podcast, the whole enterprise of us doing movie reviews, was that we're going to get a chance to talk about movies worth talking about. And for me, this is a fabulous example of the opposite. And I don't want to kill the energy going forward, because there are actually some things worth pointing out on exactly this front. But tell me what you thought about the movie.
Well, for anyone listening, please stick with us for the next, I don't know, half an hour. We're going to try and make it worth listening to.
There are some good things about this that I want to talk about. There are some very good things I want to talk about.
I will put the question to you guys. I mean, because the family is so core at it, and the Incredibles 2, like they hit those notes just so perfectly throughout, and I feel like there's a really great foundation laid for this family, particularly in one of the first scenes. And we're going to talk through the plot along the way. I mean, I think this should probably go without saying for us moving forward as a podcast. Like, if we're going to be talking deeply thematically about these films, we're naturally going to be getting into spoiler territory. So we would say, if you have any interest in seeing Fantastic Four, by all means, do it. We wouldn't be doing this if we didn't find it valuable to have the conversation. But you get such a beautiful sense of who these people are and who these people are to one another in that first family dinner scene, where the revelation of the pregnancy is laid out to the rest of the family. And I for me, it's a great foundation that just the film does not do enough with throughout the remainder to keep that family at the heart of the plotting, because all of the Galactus of it all takes over, the Doom of it all, the Secret Wars of it all takes over, and we lose track. I lost track of who these people were, which made it hard for me to stay emotionally invested with their story throughout. And that's kind of my broader thought there.
Agreed. I thought that the characters were all very warm, very like I was attracted to these characters, and yet there's one moment where I feel like there's something worth really talking about. There's a real moral dilemma. Would you sacrifice your baby for the sake of humanity? And they undermine the power of that question like 5 minutes later. It's like they had set this all up to have so much potential.
I like that. And so here's what I find interesting about the central thesis of the text is your question is right. Would you sacrifice a baby for the sake of your world? Mm-hmm. But what they don't explore at all is that in that sacrificing of that baby is the enslavement of that baby. So for those of you who haven't seen it, Galactus wants the progeny of Sue and Mr. Fantastic because he can free himself from this curse that he has been under where he just has to consume planets, right?
Cosmic hunger, exactly.
Yes, cosmic hunger, which I think we should talk about, like a hunger that cannot be satisfied, right? This is, I think, in the great Christian tradition, one of the things that we talk about when we talk about sin and we talk about addiction and how sin feeds on itself and that you're being formed by something. And the more you have of it, the more you want of it. Mm-hmm. And so you have to kind of figure out a way spiritually to turn on the reverse jets to move yourself away from the thing that you are hungering. So they talk about this as if it's an easy question to answer, because the reaction to the rest of the world is like, well, of course, like to sacrifice one to save the entire planet seems like a no-brainer. But you're enslaving that one, and there is no guarantee. What would be your guarantee that in 10 years that one is come back to devour your planet out of that same hunger? Because that is the way that our darkness works. Like it only wants more. It only wants to feed. And so if you take Galactus as a kind of inner darkness that everyone has, the question is like, how are you going to deal with this? Like, how are you going to deal with this growing inner darkness that only wants to feed? And they don't approach that question at all. They don't try to deal with that question. And they don't try to make Galactus sympathetic in the least bit. And like great stories, in every great story, you have to look at the villain and see why the villain believes they're the good guy from their perspective.
But isn't that a fundamental problem with this movie? Because Galactus is not a villain. Galactus has no agency, really. Just like Shalabal is a prisoner to this role as the herald.
That's my point. Yeah. That's my point. You're just taking Franklin and you're enslaving him to the same thing. That he just becomes the next Galactus. But that's not this is a problem that is rampant in storytelling and maybe rampant in the human condition, where creators want to ask really big questions, but are so ill-equipped to answer or address those questions. And so it's like, well, you'll drop kick him through a wormhole to another place in the universe, and like that, and that'll be that. But he still exists, and he still is hungering, and that hunger will come back.
Mm-hmm. Two things that you mentioned there that I hadn't thought about. One, I love the idea that enslavement of this child is actually worse than the death of the child in twofold ways. One, for the child, but also the potential for future destruction. That seems like a great thing that they could have elevated, explored, said, this isn't going to solve the problem. And yeah, just the way that they went through that dilemma. The dilemma is real. Do you sacrifice your baby for humanity? and the different ways that you could approach that topic. I think you're doing a great job saying here's really the potential of the conversation that could have been had.
Yeah.
Well, so I mean, we have the Abraham and Isaac parallel. Obviously, there's parallels with even the MCU, back to Infinity War and Vision, and we don't trade lives. It's this refrain that gets repeated over and over again. But we all have this, at least an abstract sense that even one unnatural death is too many. But all of us have made our internal peace, whether we realize it or not, with untold numbers of people dying, suffering, that does not touch my life. And so it exists in that abstract until that sacrifice is someone I care about, someone close to me. And hopefully people are left with that conversation. But here we have a Earth 828 where all it takes is, and granted, Vanessa Kirby is one of the most luminous human beings on this or any planet probably. So when she gets up and says this is Franklin and we're all family and we can sacrifice together, we can turn the lights off and save all the energy for these teleportation bridges, and we live in a world where I want to call BS on that immediately, because we've seen time and again, we do not have the capability or the desire to sacrifice for the collective. And so if there's something that the film is critiquing of us, that's where I would pinpoint it.
Yeah, there is this understood shared belief that Reed Richards is the smartest man in the world, which if you're comic book, if you're from the nerddom, if you know what happened at Comic-Con last week, then you're like, yeah, we accept that. But I'm with you in that, I have lived through a global pandemic, and it took about 30 seconds for half the world to be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Right. Right. If it's inconvenient to me in the least, then if they get me, they get me. If I die, I die. So, I mean, maybe Earth 828 is just a really different place. And I'm not entirely sure. Sacrificing the baby is the easy thing to do, which is why I think the movie explores that sort of easy answer. I'm sitting here thinking when I'm watching it, so intergalactic being that devours planets says, if you give me this baby, I won't devour your planet. Why? I'm thinking, why in the world would you trust him to do that?
Sure. Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, that may be our 2025 cynical view of the world, and I'm fine with that. But the real tragedy of this movie, and maybe it's why I feel like some of the questions it asked were so pitifully unaddressed, is that it's just sort of a limp movie. It doesn't everything, it is the definition of fine.
Yeah.
The script, it's fine. The acting, it's fine. When Vanessa Kirby's curly hair is the best part of the movie. And we've seen Vanessa Kirby in bad movies. I mean, we saw Napoleon, right? When that is the best part of the movie, it's there's just not much here.
I agree. I've listened to probably 15 hours of commentary. We're recording this late in the game, and I'm listening. Well, what's everybody else's take? 98% of the commentary on this movie from people who really loved it is about the visuals, and just nothing in terms of what's being said, the depth, anything worth exploring. It's just this is a beautifully shot, put together film, and just over and over and over again. And that's what it comes down to. This movie is Kirby's hair. It's what it is.
But we talked about Superman last week, and just as a contrast, we've got a film in Superman that has a very to whatever degree you feel like it's a successful film, which I think we all were very positive on. It clearly has a artistic voice behind it, And that's not something you've got with Fantastic Four or, Thunderbolts for that matter, or really 90% of these Marvel projects. These reek of being planned by committee and shifting 5 different ways in the midst of it. Like there is clearly 10, 15 minutes of, Ben Grimm / Natasha Lyonne like romancing, and like that's the lovelorn Ben Grimm, the Thing that I really want to get behind and would humanize him in a way where he has nothing going on in this movie. And so we've talked about Franklin, and for anyone listening who doesn't know, Franklin Richards, the son of Sue Storm and Reed Richards, is essentially an Omega level mutant, is capable of even as a child with just a thought, creating pocket dimensions. This is one of the most powerful beings in this comic world. And so there's and maybe this I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, because it goes to like, why do we tell these stories? And is it leading towards some kind of culmination? And I think what I'm coming to terms with is that I don't know that any of these comic book films can really be fully satisfying, because they can never be the culmination. Like Endgame came close because it was all of the momentum is leading up to this 10-year project. But like when Galactus says, you are my salvation. I consume you and I no longer have to consume. What I'm hearing is, this is the most powerful mutant being in this world, and I don't really want to sit through 70 more of these movies either. So let's just end it now. You're saying you're the strongest? Cool. Done. And it's the Jurassic World, the rebirth thing, where the first scene is like, nobody likes the dinosaurs anymore anyway. Why did you make the movie?
Because we all like dinosaurs, Mike. That's why why we made the movie.
But does that that it's always leading to something else, the next thing, does that take away from these being satisfying entries, cinematic texts on their own?
I would want to answer that with check out how Game of Thrones wrestles with that. It's you really focus on the world, and you really focus on the death of heroes and people you love. And Marvel doesn't do that, but if they were offing some of these characters and every movie had real stakes, I think you would really feel compelled to have a different perspective on it. But you're exactly right. It's just all building towards these 7-year, tentpole events that they're hoping to establish. And
We've talked about this before, not on podcasts, but the essential mistake that the MCU makes is the multiverse.
Yeah.
So no one ever really dies. Nothing ever really matters.
Yeah.
Because there's just another Earth somewhere else. And it was, like Black Widow's dead, but now she's back with a new show, a new movie. Like nothing ever. The stakes are never amount to anything, which is why, though not enough people saw it, people really like Thunderbolts, because all of those people can die and every one of them has regret. And you go into this, like you're going to go into, I forgot what they call it now, the dark space and all of that. Like, and that was actually something people could resonate with. And so when I watch this movie, I'm with you, Mike. This feels like a film that was noted to death, because there are so many groups that have a stake in what happens next. So you get these trailers with John Malkovich in them, right? Then 2 weeks before the movie comes out, we cut all of that, right? You supposed to have emotional stakes with the Thing and the character played by Natasha Lyonne. Like, he shows up at the end at the synagogue to see her. Why? You met her on the street in the first 5 minutes of this movie.
Right.
And like, clearly there was something cut out of this movie that anchored it emotionally. that y'all decided, well, let's just have this interstellar chase with the Silver Surfer for 10 minutes. You have the lady who plays the head of the Future Foundation. Why is she in this movie? Like, I'm watching it thinking her role is on the cutting room floor somewhere.
So there's
Right?
any diversity in the film
no
at all,
point.
I think is why.
Yeah. Like Mothman is in this movie. Like, why? Like, we don't need him to just lead people underground. Like, there's, and it's a movie that clocks in at under 2 hours with credits, including the credits, under 2 hours. And 15 minutes for us to care would have killed this movie. Like, when my daughter watched it and she goes, at the end, she goes like, I didn't care about that baby.
Yep.
Like, you didn't care about anybody.
I felt very warm towards the characters. I think you're putting your thumb on it. Like, I don't feel any of their struggles outside of Sue Storm, and that's a very maternal, almost primal kind of feeling towards one's baby who you don't even really know yet. You know, as a parent of a toddler, you can look at him and say, I love you, but I don't know you yet, you know? And it seemed to me the only real struggle that got elevated in this. And so we're not brought into the emotional life of anyone who's really here. And because of that, I think that's a primary why the movie lacked depth for me.
And in contrast, though they're not great movies, but they are rewatchable. You know, the Fantastic Four from 2005 that Tim Story did, Michael Chiklis as the Thing. Like, in that second movie, you know, he's dating, I think it was Kerry Washington who played his girlfriend. She's blind. And like, you feel when you see that, like, this is a guy who has everybody else comes back from their accident looking exactly the same with the powers. Now he is just a huge rock formation. And you feel in that movie his alienation, and Michael Chiklis may just be a better actor than we had this time. Who I loved in Punisher season 1.
And the bear, obviously, come on.
But like, you felt that, and like, that character is supposed to be the emotional anchor of the Fantastic Four, and they tried to do it with Sue. And you know, one of the things I would talk about that's really great, and actually I'm surprised that more reviewers haven't talked about, is at the end of this movie, the reservoir from which she draws from is motherhood itself. Right. And there is this beautiful idea of mother, which I have found to be true for mothers 98% of the time. There is no length that they won't go to, no height they won't climb, no depth that they will not dive into for their children, even if it costs them their life. And I really think dads aren't like that. And like, I don't know, maybe a 2-minute conversation where we get to hear her say that before makes that moment land. We're just like supposed to assume like, oh, she's a mom, she loves her kid.
I'm curious if, as 3 men, if that's something we miss. Is this movie actually saying something from a gender vantage point, you know, about motherhood? And perhaps part of the lack of connection for myself is just, I'm just not a mom, and I don't, you know, the invisibility, dare we say, of motherhood is on display and for some of us here. But it's a movie about 2 moms. You know, there's another mom in this as well who's motivated by her motherhood.
I mean, when Shia LaBeouf comes back and you see her flashback and she at one point in time chose to become the herald of Galactus in order to save her planet, right? And so we have like you said, these 2 moms. I love the way you put that, Sean. And in fact, I think grew my appreciation for some of those final moments a little bit, because the image that is returning to me, though I have problems with the CGI baby, but the moment of mother and child in the reversal of what we normally see as the Pietà and Mary cradling the body of Christ. You have that flipped, and and I think there is some power there that even I think would have been greater if it, like, get a real baby. Like, I don't know. It's just, filtered through all of these digital lenses, and I'm losing the humanity in a very, very human moment. Even at the point of birth, Franklin is being born in the midst of them doing a Apollo 13 slingshot around a neutron star, and Sue goes invisible right at the point of birth. And I think part of that is to save the PG-13 rating, because we're in 0G, y'all. Those of us who have been present for a birth. But again, you're taking away the humanity of that moment. You're not allowing us access in. And I think that's to the detriment of what could have been really affecting sequences otherwise.
Like, I think it feels like movies right now are really concerned, and rightly so, with being too talky, especially action movies. But, like, I'm imagining in my mind a scene with the Silver Surfer and Sue, or with Johnny explaining to Sue, like, she's a mother too. This is decision, like, both of them are making decisions to save their child, essentially. Like, that just adds some weight and stakes. Where, I mean, really, in the final battle, which it's not a spoiler. Every action movie has a final battle where you face the big boss, right? Like, I just wanted it to be over.
Yeah.
Like, because I knew you were going to win because of the kind of movie that it is. And I saw the stinger on Thunderbolts, but it just lacked any of that. I mean, and we got a little bit of it from Reed. We didn't get any from Johnny, any from Ben Grimm. Sue's speech, where I feel like, I'm like, Mike, I'm so jaded. Like, somebody would have shot them both if she just walked out into this crowd of people. Like, we're not going to sacrifice our child. And they're like, yeah, you are. So it was missed opportunity after missed opportunity after missed opportunity. And I don't really know why. I mean, when Tony Stark died, like, people cried. And it's not because he was in 1,000 movies around the Avengers. It was like when Pepper Potts leans over to him and says, like, it's okay, you can rest now. Mm-hmm. Like, that has an emotional stakes that people had come to care about, because we knew who he was and why this mattered. And that for someone like him to make this kind of sacrifice, like, was really weighty.
I love the idea that there was a missed opportunity here to give us something really girthy, really, really wonderful about motherhood. Has that been explored much in the MCU? Second Black Panther movie had quite a bit there. I got nothing else that comes to mind.
Well, I mean, that just goes to show you, I mean, how few of these have centered the women, just period. So it's not particularly surprising that this hasn't been a category that has been well mined in these texts, because it certainly becomes very much an afterthought. And I also, you've got a baby in this movie, and it tends to be what happens when there's babies in movies and TV shows. Like, they don't really need anything. They never need to eat or cry or sleep. Like, they're just, they're purely a prop. Like, Franklin feels like a prop. Just like the movie itself feels in essence like a prop. Like, I think I likened it to the, it's football and you're third down and like all you need is a field goal. So you waste the play just so you can squeeze the ball closer to your preferred hash mark before we kick into Avengers mode. Like, it purely felt like we are punting on making this in any way daring or distinct, because there's too much riding on it. And maybe that's
it puts the Fantastic Four on the board for Doomsday.
Yeah.
Like, and which is so crazy, Mike, because, and I think that's maybe the frustration that we're expressing with it is because Sue, not Reed, is the anchor of this story. And it has always been Reed before. Reed kind of feels like, I think he and Superman should get along and figure out why they can't figure out anything. Like, these are like, I don't know why our superheroes have just gone inept. But she's the anchor of this movie, right? It's like it's like, you almost got there. Like, it was so close. And what's frustrating about that is, you put so much on that plate and then wrapped it in cellophane.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little mean. When I think of Pedro Pascal, intelligence is not the word that comes to mind as a performer. I think that he has undeniable charisma. I think he has a certain kind of warmth and introspection. I don't believe him in this role is, I think, something that fundamentally doesn't work for me. I think it's a miscast. I had my eyes on, even, precasting. Sean, you'll appreciate this. Yeah, Midnight Mass. Your boy Hamish Linklater, like kind of the lead priest in that, who has that kind of darker edge to it. Like, Reed is so smart that it approaches regularly this place of arrogance, and maybe Pedro will get there. Maybe, with whatever happens after the events of this film and Franklin's likely abduction, or even the full-on destruction of this planet via, some incursion event or one other. I think I can see that shift in Reed moving forward. So maybe that's some potential in how these people will now change, being ripped from their world, being thrust into, this multi-dimensional conflict for the sake of all of creation. I guess they're swinging for the fences, but they're also playing not to lose, which seems like an impossible contrast to hold.
There have been a lot of discussion about whether or not he's miscast. Here's what I find interesting. Everyone says exactly what you said, Mike, about Pedro Pascal's acting skill, about his charisma, and he is perennially miscast. And so, as my daughter said, this summer was supposed to be Pedro Pascal's heat check, and he is cold. Material. Miscast.
Fantastic I have different
Four.
Thoughts about Eddington than you do, though. We'll have to relive Eddington at some point in time, because I think he's terrific.
Well,
in that.
And that's the thing. Like, he's actually the best part of Eddington to me, but he's not in it very much. And like, he has this way. He is willing to take roles where he is not center stage, and I appreciate that. He's just like Eddington. Like, he's not even in the third act. Like, just not there. Sorry for the spoiler for the 2.5 of you that were interested in seeing Eddington. And so, like, I think we have to start asking some questions about whether Pedro Pascal can carry a movie, whether he can anchor a movie, because the movies he's best in, he is not the anchors. And I guess this is the sliding doors moment, because Jeff mentioned Game of Thrones, which is where we first met Pedro Pascal, at least when I first met Pedro Pascal, which he was great in. And when he bites it in Game of Thrones, like, I was actually sad to see him go. And the rest of the things I've seen him in, I was fine to see him go. I just wonder or not if he's got enough juice. Like, he's not Robert Downey Jr. And he's not Chris Evans. And I think we just have to admit that right now.
He may not be all that helped by the script and the characterization of the text. I mean, you think about the press conference when, it's been a month since they've returned from their fateful meeting with Galactus. They've been given this ultimatum, which they have denied, and so Galactus is seemingly on the way. And what does Reed Richards do? He goes up in front of a press conference. He's like, "Yeah, this is what he wanted our baby. We're not going to do that." The media savvy, I think, fails him, and And it's one of those moments where you're like, this is the smartest guy on the planet. And there are different kinds of intelligence. I get it. So maybe it's the social intelligence at that point lacking.
I don't know. What's your take on, Jeff? What's your take on the Pedro Pascal of it all?
Pedro Pascal is fantastic in another Disney property, and it's The Mandalorian, which is focused on a MacGuffin that's a baby. And notice they don't screw up the baby in The Mandalorian because they show the baby is interesting and does things. And when that baby gets tempted to the dark side in the future and starts going chaos, it's going to be amazing. But they haven't set up Franklin to be that person. They have Jack to look at and say, this is what it looks like to create a Fantastic Five with a really interesting baby. And they just shove that to the side. When they put the baby on her chest, I was like, I still didn't know what was going to happen. And when she came back alive, I was like, oh, yeah, okay. So it's like one of those, jolt your heart machines, apparently. This baby's got some power to get things moving again. Just the thing that needed to happen was you needed to show the MacGuffin that you're may end up being central to what they're doing, I assume, in Avengers Doomsday. You need to give me something there to get excited about and to create interest in, and they just failed. And you're like, so as opposed to Third Down, just burning Third Down, what you needed to do was establish one of your main characters, and it was this child.
For me, this is what goes back to Mike's earlier comment about this sort of being a movie made by committee, right? Because Marvel at this point has rightly heard all of our complaints about homework, right? Like it's too much homework to watch these movies. Like, I don't know who these people are, why they matter. When I went and saw it the second time, where I only fell asleep for 2 minutes and not for an hour, I came home and asked the family who had all seen it. I was like, tell me what you know about Franklin.
Yeah.
Tell me what you know about Silver Surfers.
Yeah.
Like, there's a mention of Silver Surfer in the movie Crimson Tide.
Sure.
From 30 years ago, which is the only reference that my wife had for what a Silver Surfer existed anywhere in the universe.
Kirby Silver Surfer is isn't it?
So, and I thought, like, they were so worried about us doing not having to do homework, but they also didn't explain anything for people. I was like, do you know what a Silver Surfer is? Do you know who Galactus is and why that might matter? What do you know about the Fantastic Four? I'm so glad, just like with Superman this year, so glad it wasn't another origin story. Like, we can praise be to he for that. But at the same time, like, until that baby crawls on its mom, you know that Galactus wants the baby.
Yeah.
But you do not know, like, if you're not a comic book person or around that world, that, this baby can basically invent whole worlds, like, just by thinking about it. And so that also adds to, like, give him the baby, right?
Exactly.
Right? Like reality is, like, if you give him this baby and it becomes enslaved and a world eater, Franklin is going to be powerful enough to devour all life everywhere easily.
Yeah.
Right. And none of that's established. Yeah. So that again goes back to just not caring.
Yeah, it's the villains and not showing the stakes. Again, I got one more question, and then Mike, I want to throw it to you as the outro. I really wanted to compare Superman and Fantastic Four. It consistently hit me that I kept coming back to the question of accountability and for those who have the most power, because it seems like these four show up after having, their intergalactic dialogue and came back and said, this was the problem. This is what we said, and this is what we're going to do. All of humanity get on board because we're the smartest people there are. And it seems like that was the Superman question as well in the dialogue with Lois is, can you be questioned? doesn't the rest of the human race have a say in all of this? And of all things, it reminded me of one of the first lines Tony Stark has in the first Iron Man, where he said, "I saw young Americans killed by the weapons I created to defend them and protect them, and I saw that I had become part of a system that is comfortable with zero accountability." And I don't know that the superhero films have ever gotten over that first film, and that is throwing down the gauntlet and saying, what are we going to do about this? And I don't know that we've gotten there yet. It's still, if you have the most power, you got the most power.
But they do a better job these days of making sure that there's a scene that show the evacuation. Like,
yes,
they're across the river. They're in the next town over. Don't worry about any falling skyscrapers. They've all been cleared out.
Let's go underground.
Yeah, exactly. We're kicking it with the mole people.
You're exactly right. Like that is one of the notes that apparently they've gotten is, you need to depopulate the cities before you destroy them.
Can I ask you guys a question about this Fantastic Four movie? I'd just love to hear your take. Did it seem to you that Reed is supposed to be the smartest man in the world, and he wasn't the smartest of the four of them?
He may have been good with a chalkboard, but he did not seem to have that social intelligence for sure.
I mean, did it seem to you that it seemed to me that Johnny solved the more problems?
Yeah, it's true.
Johnny solved problems, and then obviously Sue just seems like the most capable and confident of the whole bunch. I mean, she'd stand before the Future Foundation is essentially their like UN, right? And she's like the voice of this council. Yep. So and Reed he's got his stretchy limbs and his chalkboard.
Isn't it Johnny that comes up with, like, I can decode this language, and like make a connection with a extraterrestrial being, and isn't that connection what eventually saves the day? Mm-hmm. Like, it's Johnny that's at the controls of the bridge. Yeah. It's Johnny who chases after the Silver Surfer initially.
Yeah.
And has
and
the
how
first.
Does he do that? Like, he plays the recording of all these planets that Shah-Labal has been a part of, and it to go back to kind of where we started a bit, like, it's what he's saying to her is like, it's abstract to you, it's not abstract to them, just like your world was not abstract to you. So what is that then becoming this herald figure just dissipates whatever shred of empathy remain there. I don't have an answer there. It's just a curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, Reed is like, I figured out how to move an egg.
Pretty much.
Yeah, planet's the same thing. It's just a scale.
It's like, okay. I mean, it was just one of those pieces. And I think, Mike, your take is going to be the one that sticks with me, because I'm like Jeff. I've read and listened to a lot of discourse about this film, and not any, like, what is true, I think, is what you said. Like, it is a movie made by committee, and that's why it feels lifeless.
Yeah, exactly right.
So
what you say there, Mike?
All right, I'm going to take it away. All right, so we're through with the movie. We're on to the stinger, the mid-credit sequence, and Sue has come back into the home, and she realizes there's this green caped figure holding a metal mask, holding young Franklin Richards, and this is, of course, our first view of the back of what may be Robert Downey Jr. I don't know how many tens of millions of dollars he made for this particular appearance, but he's going to be raking it in for the next several as Dr. Doom becomes the big bad of the MCU. And I thought that maybe, as a little final note here, that you guys might be up for a game that I am calling Who Said It? Dr. Doom or God? So...
a scriptural God or some other God?
I've got
okay, so we're talking about the God from the Holy Bible God.
This will be quick. So, number one, the welfare of my people is ever closest to my heart. What a pity I am so often forced to save you from yourselves. Who's got it? Just call it out.
I'm going with Yahweh on this one.
Oh, no. Dr. Doom. That's a point for Sean.
Oh.
Dr. Doom.
When they are given over to you and you defeat them, then you must utterly destroy them, make no covenant with them, and show them no mercy.
I'm going to go Yahweh on that.
That's for Samuel, baby.
Deuteronomy 7. Number 3, today I make no demands, no threats, but one day I shall voice demands, and all shall obey them.
I'm gonna go God on that.
I'm going to go with
That's
Doom.
Dr. Doom. Point for Jeff. Number 4, my greatest flaw, I surround myself with idiots.
Dr. Doom.
There you go.
I'll go with Doom
Well
as
done.
well.
Number 5, now go and attack them and utterly destroy all that they have. Spare no one. Kill both man and woman, child and infant. I'm going to give this to Jeff, actually, because he already called out for Samuel a bit earlier. So that was...
That one's
I'm going to keep him on the board, all right? Number 6, and I will make this city a horror, a thing to be hissed at, and everyone who passes by it will be horrified by its disaster.
Doom.
I'll go with
Jeremiah
with,
19,
God on that
point
one.
for Jeff.
Yeah. I wanted to zag on that one.
My vast and supreme will shall be done.
Doom.
Doom.
I'll go with Doom
Point for
also.
Sean. Wherever the corpse is, there the eagles gather.
Come on, that's Jesus.
Matthew 24, very good. Do not let your idle tongue undo your small successes.
I think neither. I think I've said that to my children.
All right. That was Dr. Doom, for the record. It does sound like a proverb. Number 10, the whole earth is mine.
That would be
That's God.
yeah, that's God.
Well, Exodus
maybe is that
19.
both?
I'm assuming Dr. Doom said it as well. So I was...
Yeah, that's both.
All right. 11, and you, ravagers, a reward to whoever gets back at you for all you've done to us. Yes, a reward to the one who grabs your babies and smashes their heads on the rocks.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's
that's
God.
scripture.
That is a psalm, y'all. Psalm 137.
Yeah.
Just crushing babies. Oh my goodness. Number 12. I will not lower myself to performing parlor tricks for the rabble any more than you yourself would. For in my own country, I am also a king.
I'll go with Doom on that one. He's got a country.
Doom.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And this is, we need this for a tiebreaker. So behold the new sun. Yes.
A note about that.
Uh-huh.
Did you catch that at the big council at the beginning of Fantastic Four that the seat was empty?
Liberia.
Doom's
Exactly.
country.
Yeah.
And the rest of the, we're told that everyone else has demilitarized, but not
Right. So
our
go
buddy
ahead. I'm
Victor. So final one.
Yeah.
Behold the new sun that soars in the heavens. Gaze upon the great and terrible star whose name is...
You got me on that one.
Fill in the blank.
I'll go with
Doom.
with God on that. Oh,
Doom.
I'll lose on that. On
All right,
negative.
Sean, I think you win there, but no, thanks for humoring me.
I don't know about that, but that was a great game. Gosh,
That was
I hope
good.
we don't have to do that every time.
I'm gonna run out of options. So
we got 4 minutes. Quick answer. There's 3 movies: Spider-Man: Brand New Day, Avengers: Doomsday, and Avengers: Secret War. What does the MCU need to achieve?
I would love for them to commit to stakes in some form or fashion. I think the moment that really turned things for me on, not on the MCU entirely, but I've talked about this before. Jumping back to Civil War, and War Machine is shot down by the Vision in the battle at the airport, and he falls and hits the ground. We see it happen, and you're thinking, oh, this is what this has come to. This fighting between friends has now cost one of their lives. And the movie waits all of about 5 seconds for, the voice of the inner suit to come in. It's like, oh, he's hurt, but he's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And if only that we could see what actual loss does to these people. And I think we get some of that in Endgame, but that is a little bit tempered by the fact that we know everyone's coming back by the end of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know that it can. Can you make us care for these people, these characters, in the ways that you have in the past and so fleetingly do in recent years?
What'd you say, Sean?
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with Mike. I think that's what makes Thunderbolts work, is that you see the toll that it's taken, and you actually begin to care about the future of these folks. And it's not just you get out of the multiverseness, because the multiverse makes nothing matter.
Yep.
And it just has come to people aren't tired of comic book movies. They're tired of comic book movies where nothing matters regardless.
Yep.
Yeah, we're still going to be there anyway for all of them, probably. So. Because we are eternally hopeful.
They know they got our money. We're sports fans who are content or cheering for the Jets still. I think this is right. Wrap up the multiverse. Again, I'm super excited for them to get out of the way and get X-Men, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Blade forefront. These are characters I actually care about, and I think they have the ability to do exactly what's being said. You can go dark with these characters in a way that some of the other ones don't allow as cleanly, and I think that would be a great move for the MCU to get a little darker. So that's what I got. Any last words before we sign off?
It was great talking with you.
Where are we doing? That's right. Mike, where are we doing next?
Oh, next. So we are going to be in August. So we're for the next few months, what we're going to try to do is we're starting to feel this out as a podcast, is to pick a new release and then to pick another film in that month that is something of a thematic pair. So next week we're going to be discussing the new horror films by Zach Kreger, director of Barbarian, called Weapons. And this is going to be kind of a broader discussion around allegorical horror. The Weapons will be very much more akin to like the social horror like you might find with a Get Out. We also will be talking at the end of August about the 50th anniversary of a little film called Jaws. And talking about allegorical horror from a more environmental... natural a natural fear, a fear within the world. These forces that we can't quite control or understand, and that is represented by this shark in the deep in Steven Spielberg's classics. So hope you'll stick with us for those.
It's good stuff. He's Sean Palmer, and he is Movie Mike. I'm Jeff Cook. This is Sacred Frames. See you next time.
Thanks, Jeff.